I'm Dr. Jeffrey McCray, and I'm the bassoon instructor at Metropolitan State University of Denver. This lyrical etude in B minor will test your ability to play beautiful phrases in the tenor register of the bassoon. You will need to be proficient with reading tenor clef and familiar with the fingerings for the notes up to high A. If you're not yet comfortable with reading tenor clef, I don't recommend that you write in all of the note names, although that may be necessary for some students. Instead, I encourage you to only write in a few note names in key places, such as large melodic leaps or the beginning of a new line or phrase. If the melody then moves by step, try to read these notes by interval rather than relying on having written in every note name. At the prescribed tempo for this etude, you will probably end up counting this in 6 beats to the measure, with the 8th note being the value of the beat. Even so, I try to feel this in 2 beats to the measure, where the dotted quarter note is the value of the beat, placing a little bit more weight on the notes that occur on the big beat, or beats 1 and 4, if you're counting 8th notes, can help to achieve a very natural sounding forward motion. Notice how this etude divides neatly into 4 4-bar phrases. I suggest breathing every 4 bars, which might be a bit challenging at this tempo. I recommend breaking the slur in measure 12 after the quarter note E. This allows the 3rd phrase, or measures 9 through 12, to end beautifully with the resolution of the trill. Bar 13 then begins with a pickup note, or the last note of measure 12. Without breaking the slur to breathe here, you will have to breathe somewhere in the middle of both the 3rd and the 4th phrases. It's possible to do it, but it's hard to make it sound natural. Be very careful with the 32nd notes. They are not that fast at this tempo. The number one mistake that I hear students make when playing fast notes is that they rush through the very first note. Make sure the first note sounds cleanly before you move down the scale to play the remaining 32nd notes. The half-whole F sharp can be a problematic note on many bassoons. It tends to be sharp and it frequently cracks. Make sure that your half-hole is slightly more open for the F sharp than it is for the G or the A flat in this range. You should also be aware that there are 2 fingerings available to you for this note. One using the right thumb and the other using the right pinky. And ideally, you should be equally proficient with both of them. I generally prefer the pinky F sharp in this range of the bassoon because it is closer to being in tune on my instrument. Remember that both fingerings tend to be sharp. You should spend some time playing each of these fingerings with a tuner to determine which is better in tune on your bassoon, and also to figure out what you may need to do with your airspeed and the space inside of your mouth and throat to get the note to be in tune. On many bassoons, there is a substantial difference in the intonation between these 2 fingerings. Now, there aren't a lot of technical passages in this etude that would dictate what fingerings you should use, but I recommend using the pinky or the front F sharp in measure 15. This may make the F sharp major triad, F sharp, A sharp, C sharp, a bit easier, as your thumb can prepare in advance to get to the B flat key in plenty of time to play A sharp cleanly. Likewise, the high F sharp has multiple possible fingerings, and they each have their own intonation tendencies. It's worth spending some time to figure out what works best on your bassoon. If you're using a fingering that involves the half hole in the first finger in the left hand, make sure that you're using a sufficiently large opening, but also be sure to depress your whisper key. If that still doesn't work well for you, try leaving the first finger off completely, which is what I tend to do on this note. The last measure of this etude contains a slurred leap from the half-hole F sharp to high F sharp. I recommend spending a significant amount of time slowly practicing this interval with a tuner. Try multiple fingerings for both notes. One final thing about fingerings in this etude. For the trill in measure 12, try trilling the D to E with just trilling your 2nd finger, but also add the B flat key in your right hand. That will improve the pitch on the trill.